is what's commonly known as a brick. And I had one of these about 1987, 88. And it was a Motorola, and you just pick it off and you dial the numbers on the back and, hello, you there? But you carried it along. It weighed an absolute ton. Took about a day to charge. But there it is. Never thought I'd see one again, but the old brick. With me is Steve, and Steve, welcome to our little show.
Thanks, Bill.
And what we've got here, folks, is a Diamond T tanker, and you must be absolutely proud of this. I mean, I've seen the photographs and what it was like when you got it. It was just a big, collection of junk. And you've sorted all that out and turned it into this, and I've got to say congratulations.
Thanks again, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
We're very pleased how it turned out. It was a big job, 4.5 years, but
4.5 years, really?
We got there in the end.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Now there's this is a 38, I think you said, 38, 1938.
Yeah.
And in 1939, 1940, this grill changed to big bars.
Yes.
And then of course the war came and they disappeared altogether, and they started making tank transporters and things like that, Diamond T. But maybe just start at the beginning. A man called Tilt, he was a shoemaker. They had a shoe company, and they started, or the son I think started building trucks.
Correct, yeah.
But the truck lives on.
Yeah. Fortunately.
Fortunately, yeah. So just tell me, we'll just start at the beginning, the bumper. When we're looking at this bumper, was that like that when you got it, or was it bent?
No, not quite. It took quite a bit of cut and polish to get it nice like that.
Yep.
No, that's completely re-chromed, repaired. Very hard to get overriders in this condition to be re-chromed. The grille was, every individual bar was panel beaded and polished, and yeah, just a big job. And as I say, that grille, you're quite correct, is only from 38 and half of 1939.
Yes, so it's short-lived,
yes,
if you like, yeah. But it's certainly got plenty of bling on it. I mean, these little panels out the side, the little panels down the front there. So Mr. Tilt, I think, in his wisdom, if we can make a truck that looks really, really nice, we're going to sell more than anybody else, and I think that was the plan behind all the bling.
Yes, yeah, they built what they called like a quality truck,
yes,
suspension-wise, rubber bush suspension, and like the interior. This is a deluxe truck, so it's I mean, but all the trucks were pretty nice.
Yes, amazing. You've got a little grill. What do you
bonnet mascot? Yeah.
A mascot, that's what it is. It's got T on the side, it's got T on the front, and extends over the back here. This little extension, is that a problem?
These are quite hard to get, like good ones, because a lot of truck owners cut the back off, because when they were cleaning the truck it was quite sharp, and they would cut themselves, so they cut them off. So this one was I was lucky enough to get one that's original.
Right, the headlights, I mean, they look like off an old, about a 38 Chev.
Similar to a 38 Chev, yes, very similar in size. Of course, the 38 didn't have the beautiful stainless on the bases, of course, but yeah, no, the actual shape of the headlight is pretty similar.
Right, and this is the blinkers?
Yeah, indicators, yes.
And they sort of light up with a little arrow?
Yes, light up with an arrow, yep, correct. Yeah, and so when I got the truck, there was nothing left of these. These had rusted right off.
Oh.
And the bezels, I was lucky enough to get some new old stock ones off of eBay in America.
Wow. And this is just a little light.
Just a reflector, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Right, yeah. Well, working back a bit, I think we should have a look at this engine. Can we have a look at the engine?
Yeah, that's possible.
Little locking device in there, that's handy. So If you were a truck manufacturer and you went to one of the engine companies, if you bought enough engines, they'd actually put your logo on the manifold. And Diamond T have got their logo on this manifold.
Yeah, on that Hercules engine. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think that's amazing. Yeah, you buy X thousands of engines, we'll make it yours.
Yeah.
I think, amazing.
I think if you order 20,000 engines off me, Bill, I'll put your name on the manifold.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent.
What we're going to do now, folks, is we'll pop around the other side and have a look at what makes this thing go. Just before we go anywhere, I'll just see on the side of the door here, this little Texaco logo is actually bolted on, and it's got springs behind it.
Yes, it is.
So if somebody touches it, it just.
Well, I think vibration, so it doesn't fracture the metal. Yeah.
So they've thought of everything, these guys.
I guess, yeah, they did. They did.
And just in front of the door, there's a little opening.
Little side vent, yes.
And there it is. On my Studebaker, which is just over there, it actually opens up the other way, so
the air comes
directly in, rather
yeah.
than sort of circling around and coming in there. That's amazing. Anyway, jump in. Lovely step there, folks, and he's got all this rubber or whatever it is, just like it would have been back in the day. Step in, easy peasy. You're not climbing up the sort of side of the thing like you do today. Plonk, plonk, you're in. Steve, there's a man called Brian Belcher, no longer with us, I'm afraid, but he had a Diamond T, and he said when he was young, there was a rubbish Diamond truck. It was a rubbish truck, and he ran alongside it, jumped on the running board, looked in through the window and saw that dashboard. And he fell in love with it at that point. He says that was the flashiest dashboard he'd ever seen in his life. This is in the early 50s. And one day I'll have one. And he went on to make one, and I think it's down in the South Island now. But anyway, there's that dashboard again, and you've done a wonderful job of bringing that up to scratch. Was it like that when you got it?
Not quite, no. But yeah, like we did all the machine tuning, and like restored all the gauges, made these. As I say, it's quite a job in restoration. Every single part has been gone through, including the wind out windows.
And that's just on the little chain arrangement.
A little spline gear.
Yep. Huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's two of those, so you can have one, or yours shut and his open, and
full air conditioning. Yeah.
You don't see that these days, do you? No windows open, of course.
No.
Even if they did, you'd need some sort of certificate to say it was safety.
That's it.
So there's a gear stick that fits underneath that dashboard, so it's bent like that, and then it looks like a pistol grip handbrake.
It is. It's like the early Ford.
Just push the button on the top. Oh yeah, ratchet. Mm-hmm. Yep. Little round, which were vogue at the time. Little round pedals.
Pedals, yes.
Yep. And now this roof, you've got a roof right above your head. So this roof looks a bit lower than the roof that's on the top. Is that how it was, or?
When Heil got the Diamond T cab and chassis, they then, to airstream flow the tanker, they put then another roof on top of the roof, and also changed the B pillars back here, so it all flowed into the tank.
So they've thought of everything yet again?
Yeah. And obviously when we repaired it, because water had got inside the two roofs, it was particularly rusty.
Right.
So we had to repair two roofs.
Okay. So there's an actual roof above this roof lining?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so you've got the lining, the roof, and then another roof.
Yes, correct, yep.
Well, anyway, we'll have a look at the tanker part. Steve, in the 1930s, there were a lot of cars that had a rounded bum. And into the 40s, Ford, Chevs, Dodgers, they had this lovely rounded bum. And when we were in America looking at old trucks in 2017, we come across an old bus yard. and there was these beautiful buses called the Flexible, and a lot of them got turned into motorhomes and things like that, but they had this beautiful sort of rounded back to them as well. But this is absolutely stunning. You've got the standoff, 3D tour with Texaco. Did you do that, or was it already there?
We've recreated them. I have got most of the original trunk letters, but for the purposes of the restoration, we recreated them all once again in porcelain.
Yes.
Just as they were in 1938.
Well, and what's in here? Pumps and...
No pumps. No, the pumps are in the side locker. It's a gravity feed system. That's just once again more for bulk oil storage.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So there's not much in there at all.
No.
Just the end of the tanks, I guess.
Tank, yeah.
And these little jobs, these
Indicators once again. Yep.
Similar to the front.
It's exactly the same as the front.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's more, bling in these, just to add to the. You have to say Art Deco.
It is Art Deco. I mean, the Airstream, airflow tanks of the day were certainly part of their marketing.
Sure. And I think at the time, several car companies had a car called an Airflow.
Correct. Yeah, Chrysler had an airflow
big,
car. Yeah.
horrible looking grill on the front of it. But it was the oddest thing you ever saw, but it was called an Airflow. It was just absolutely amazing. So, beautiful. 3 lights up the top there, they were there?
Yes. They're all original.
Wow. And in the side here, or in the side on the other side is the...
We've got this side here, I
Okay.
believe.
Let's have a look at these pumps, folks. So here we have the business end of this tanker. It's got the Hale company.
Maker's plate, yep.
Maker's plate and registration numbers and chassis numbers and engine numbers. Then we've got what's this?
This is the gravity fed pump distribution. So for the 4 tanks, you've got four tank numbers here. So you could pull these levers and that would empty the tank for that particular section. And in here we've got like an original cotton covered hose. This would have been the hose of the day. Yeah.
And you've done all this is all tread plate?
Yeah, that's just a fitted mat. But yeah, all the pump gear is all as was original.
Wow. And you've made this so that you can hardly notice it. When you close this door,
Yes.
you can hardly see there's a door there.
Yes. The fitment of the bodywork is certainly better probably than what it was new.
Absolutely. What we're going to do now, folks, is we're going to jump aboard and we'll take it for a ride around the car park, and you can see this thing in motion. Christmas isn't all that far away, and so if you're looking for a present for the truck driver or somebody interested in transport in your life, then my Talking Trucks book might be just the thing. So if you'd like a copy, just email me, billhohepper@extra.co.nz, and I'll take your details and I'll get a copy in the post to you. Now this book covers trucks basically heading back from about 1972 to the time they started making vehicles. So a good historical book, and tells you all about the New Zealand transport industry up until about 1972. So for a Christmas present, perfect. Email me, billhohepper@extra.co.nz. Would you like to come and catch a pig with me tomorrow?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Excellent. Well, I'm sitting on an NZ motor scooter, and in 1962 I bought one of these with the money that I'd earned, and I went from Whakatane up to a place called Matahina, which was tar steel halfway and then dirt road the rest. And so my day one on this thing, I went all the way to Matahina, along the dirt road, the whole 9 yards, and then I went all over the place, and up to Auckland, back from Auckland. Had a great time on this thing. And a bloke called Laurie Summers in Mount Eden, he was the agent, he brought them in. His name wasn't Summers, it was some other name that they'd shortened to Summers, because it was British. So anyway, I was just saying, sitting on this motor scooter, sort of zipping along. Mind you, I was only half the size I am now, so I probably look a bit too big for it, but it's just great to be able to just get back on one, and yeah, there was a little fuel tank in the front there, little lifted up. I think it held about 2 gallons of petrol, and gear stick, brake, you get somebody on behind if you needed to, and yeah, marvellous, the old NZer. I can't remember the film, but somebody made a motorhome out of a bus like this, very rounded shape, and the bit at the back there I think is to force the air into the air conditioning, so the passengers had a bit of comfort. What does this say? I think if I sort of, looks like an FLX, flexible. Maybe it is flexible, but certainly a stylish bus, as opposed to the square box of a thing next door. It's got the little sliding door just here, I guess that's the front, although you wouldn't know. It's got a bit of a sun visor, and or that might be the back door. I see there's a red light and a number plate back there, but Translines, number 106. And look at this, we've seen lots of these internationals in New Zealand, and here's one actually in America. Isn't this amazing? Probably a 3-ton, 5-ton. It's got a 4-speed box in there, but that international logo with a green in the middle, which means it's probably got a green diamond in it, and the same hopeless little mirror stuck out the side here, shaking away. And there's the cab. Everything the same except it's on the left, and you can see written on the clutch and the brake is the word clutch and brake. And there's, see if I can, no, I can't look under there. But anyway, our first international. This bus here with its recess up here is something very similar to what the ARA in Auckland had with their diesel buses, and the trolley buses are sort of sloped back like this, pretty much the same colour really, but with this window sort of a bit more in than the one on the right hand side. When we were down in San Francisco, the buses still looked a bit like this, the trolley buses, but this is the closest I've seen to what we have in, or had in New Zealand. But all different types of windscreens on all these buses, and you can see the back of one of those lovely rounded bum buses just down there with the big white stripe. And just behind it is another one. So they had a design and got on with it. And it says here, General Motors GM coach. So GM even made buses. And another Peterbilt hidden amongst all this, but you can just see what I mean about that door. It's got the old white, I think Western Star had a sort of a door like that, and the windscreen, very V windscreen. So yeah, another old Peterbilt. And of course the Peterbilt was the Rolls Royce of trucks. And just looking straight behind the camera, we're going to have a look at next, is an AC Mac. And we've been talking about AC Macs and Macs in general, but there's a real old timer. Let's have a look at that. If you get a chance to go down to Richardson's Museum, he's got a beautiful example of one of these AC Macs in the museum. Now this one looks like it's very, very original, and you can see the big, this has got an enormous radiator up and behind the engine. But yeah, this is just a magical find. Come and have a closer look. And of course the radiator was behind the engine, and some say that was to stop bullets going through it in the First World War, and others say that's just where it was at the time. And even the little Mac logo of the time is sitting up on top of the radiator cap there. Isn't that just very, very neat? And like the one in Richardson's Museum, this may be driven, yes, this is chain drive as well. It's got a crank handle in the front here to kick her in the guts. But let's have a look down at the chain drive down here. And that's the C cab. A lot of the trucks had C cabs of this era. And lovely big steering wheel. And the big heavy duty accelerator between the clutch and the brake, and look at that, it's even got twin sticks, this one. And yeah, low ratio, high ratio. Great big handbrake. And just coming along there's a winch, looks like it's driven from the chain there off a power takeoff that comes off the gearbox. And down the business end here we've got it's the big chain that drives this whole machine. Wonderful. A few spare parts, but isn't she amazing? An AC Mac. This bus looks like a real old timer, 1930s and 40s. I suspect it's got a badge on the front here that all I can make out is Will, W-I-L-L. And it's got AAA underneath that. Can't make out anything else, but I don't know what that's for. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-cylinder flathead something in there. And the bus next door actually looks like ones that come out of, if you lived in Auckland you would probably remember the Birkenhead buses and the buses that came out in New Lynn. This looks pretty much like one of those. This old timer, which has got a butterfly bonnet, but there's probably about a foot between the two of them, which makes that engine pretty big. But it's got a triangle like a diamond shape like the International, but I don't think it is, because it's the same little diamond on this little thing here that says RUS, Russ. Doesn't mean anything to me, but it might mean something to you guys. It looks like it might have been a luxury coach with all the headrests back there, and just above the headrest looks like a ventilation system, so each pair of seats had a little bit of air flowing on them. And this is, what's this, the 1930s, something like that, 1940s? Very luxurious coach for its time, that's for sure. Bit of a roundy back on it, and the back door. Maybe that was the emergency. But it's got a backward facing sun visor on the thing here, and a short roof rack up there for stowing that little bit of extra luggage. Didn't look like they had a great deal of room in the back for luggage, but the seats, maybe it sloped back a bit. There's a bit of a holder there, and on the back there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows. This backward display to keep the sun off, the sun visor there, and away up to the roof rack. Look at that. Very, very nice. And hidden way down the back is a couple of trucks we know and love, the old Chevs. The early Chev behind against the wall there, and the jail bar Chev. I've always thought that the Freightliner, and particularly this model, and this has been riveted, it's not fiberglass, was the most intimidating truck on the road. And Americans, and in America this is pretty much their rig. It's steerers, 2 drivers, and a 2-axle semi-trailer at the back, and they're called semis. But that's pretty much what they are. They don't actually do truck and trailers all that much, they're all semis. And this is another one of those period buses, and I don't know how many they made, but a lot of people have turned them into a very handsome motorhome, and this is another one of them flexibles. And I think the most striking thing about these things is you got to love the bum. That's just art. Well, Jim, the man who owns all this, is restoring a couple of buses, and this is one of them. And this is one of 2 left in the world that are restored. There's this one and another one. But the unique thing about this particular bus is this is 1948, by the way. All the others have got split windscreens, and this is the only one that has a single windscreen. When it came out, it had a single, which gives it the front just a really flash look. But this reminds me of the old days when we used to go on the railway buses from Auckland to Turua to visit Grandma, and they had the little plastic bits, look really, really flash, and but it was a Bedford, not a GM. And then when the windows actually sloped a bit, well, that looked really flash. So anyway, it's just a bit of nostalgia here, going back to Turua. Look at that, isn't that just wonderful? In fact, it reminds me of the Mickey Mouse Foden, really. That's sort of what it initial looked like. But there it is, a very unique bus and a very unique place. So if you're coming towards William, heading towards Oregon, stop and say g'day to Jim.